Good afternoon, Jay.
Hi, Reed.
The word identity gets thrown around in sports a lot. My observations would be that a team like the Boston Bruins perhaps has a pretty solid identity with this generation of players. When you hear Boston Bruins, what comes to mind?
Well, what do I think? I think original six franchise, proud history, found ways to win cups in different eras. And obviously this year's version has jump in their step, and they've started well and haven't looked back. There have been very few hiccups to their year, and that's a credit to their players, their coaches, for where they're at thus far.
Just also hoping to get updates on a couple of your players. I know Costin was on the ice today, but also Evander Kane.
Sorry,
Evander Kane as well, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Evander wasn't on the ice with us today. For Costin, he's somebody who's, it's coming down to whether he's fully healthy or not. When he's going to return, he's gotten a little bit better each day. The virus has kind of taken something out of him, and he's we'll see where he's at in the morning, and make a decision after that. In terms of Evander, he did not skate. He's healing. I saw him this morning. He's in good spirits. Still what I would call day-to-day, not, I don't foresee it as being anything, long-term or anything like that. He's day-to-day.
Hey, Jay.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you, Tony?
Good. Thank you very much. Warren Foegele's on a nice little individual stretch here. What qualities of his game really stand out when things are going right for him?
Yeah, I think it starts with his skating. Warren, he was injured there for a little while, end of November through the month of December. He came back. It took him a few games to kind of get up and running. I think he's at his best when he's skating at the level he can. I also think that an underrated quality about him is that, he shoots pucks from all angles, and I think that's a good thing, because when he's willing to shoot the puck, what it does is it breaks the defenders down. They're all of a sudden forced to turn and go find that puck. I think his goal yesterday was an example of being in the right position on a forecheck. He was on the wall, and he shot the puck from a bad angle. He's had a good little run here, I'd say mid-January onwards, and it's a credit to him. He's worked really hard at his game. If you were to watch our practices, I think you would notice he's usually one of the first guys on and typically the last guy off. So he takes a lot of pride in working at his game. His teammates and coaches are happy that he's finding some success.
I'm not trying to look too far ahead here because I know you're always focused on the day's business, but does the strength of schedule over the next 2 weeks and the travel involved next week kind of heighten the sense of the importance of taking care of the little things beginning with the practice today?
Yeah, I think that's what we tried to get out of today. We're in a stretch, I think, of 11 games in 20 days. This week is going to be 4 games in 6 days. We're not the only team in the NHL that's dealing with this. So you look anywhere in the NHL, teams are dealing with those types of schedules. We want to handle it the best. And there's been a lot of thought in how to manage energy reservoirs, a lot of thought in what days we want to find practices on, all that kind of stuff. I think you go to strength of schedule, I would say every day in the NHL you're getting a quality opponent. And I think when you look at the scores around the NHL, anybody can beat anybody on any given night. And, as much as you have a macro point of view of where the schedule's at, where the team's at, I think when you put your emphasis on yourself, on the micro, usually results take care of themselves. So today was a good day with that in mind, but we know who's coming in tomorrow. We'll be ready for them.
Jay, the trade deadline's on Friday. I think we all want to see it could come and go and move on, I guess. What's it like trying to block out that white noise in their room? You know, rumors are flying, names are being thrown about. What's it like is trying to keep the team focused on the ice and not let that noise kind of bother whoever?
Yeah, I think it's part and parcel with where we're at in the NHL schedule. That you know, there is a trade deadline coming up. We have a bunch of human beings in that dressing room, and I know that everyone is driven to win. You know, so what's it like keeping everyone's focus on task? I think what, as a group of coaches, what you try and do is you try and ask your players to control the things within their control. That's their daily attention to detail, their daily effort, their own personal process. You know, and I think as a coaching staff, we try and live the example we're trying to set for our players too. Very rarely would you ever hear coaches talking about quote unquote rumors or anything like that. That's not the business that we're in. We're in the business of getting the most out of the people that are in front of us. And to do that, you need everybody's focus and you need everybody's attention on task. And there isn't a bigger task in the National Hockey League right now than the Boston Bruins. And that is where our attention is.
And just the last one for me, I just want to ask you about, you got a couple of good soldiers in Darren A and Shore who've come up and, you know,
Yep.
down, but you may have to make a roster move if Klim comes back. Like how do you kind of address that to those guys? Like Devin's playing really well, Darren A's playing real well, but this is just a numbers thing that we may have to do this type thing.
Yeah, I think you don't make any decisions before you have to. If you have time, you use it. So that's number one. If people are coming back in the lineup, you want to make sure that they're 100%. Because like you said, you don't want to be taking somebody who has been a good soldier out of the lineup if the person returning isn't 100%. I think, you know, there are parts of the business that have nothing to do with whether a player has been contributing or whatnot. Sometimes it comes down to rosters. That falls under that category of things beyond anybody's control. So what we're asking our group to do is to focus on the things that are within their control and not worry about what's not.
Jay, I just wanted to ask you about Connor and his leadership. When you first started just over a year ago,
Yep.
you spoke of, you know, things we don't see. But yet as an outsider, it seems like he's, I don't know, stepped it up even in the leadership department. Is that what you see? And is he continuing to sort of gain ground in being that great captain to help push the team forward?
So you consider yourself an outsider, Gene?
Well, I'm not in the room as much as you. Much.
I wouldn't. I would consider you an Oilers insider. I would say, you know, as much as everybody puts their attention on the highlight reel or what we're seeing on a nightly basis, which demands attention, the little acts of leadership that I get to see or that I'm privy to are very impressive. And I've said this before, but I think there's a difference between setting an example and holding people to a certain standard. And I think that happens on a day-by-day basis. Sometimes it's a small act. It's taking somebody out for dinner. It's picking somebody up from the airport new to the team. It's, you know, advocating on the behalf of a teammate. Those type of things that a lot of people don't get to see but go a long way. I think we're seeing the maturation of the world's best player on the ice, but off the ice, I'm seeing the maturation of somebody stepping in and embracing a leadership role in a very, very impressive way. Good, thanks guys.